Information and Communication Technology presents Educational Satellite Television Programs.
Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to today's lesson on permeability of the cell membrane. In our last lesson, we compared plant and animal cells. We looked at the shape and structure of both types of cells, and we looked at a few examples of both. Today, we will discuss the permeability of the cell membrane. We will discuss the concept of permeability and the concept of concentration. We will learn about fully permeable and semi-permeable materials, as well as concentration variation. Are you ready to begin, students? Let us start by discussing the cell membrane. The cell membrane separates the interior of the cell from the outside environment. The cell membrane is semi-permeable. A semi-permeable membrane is one that will allow particular molecules or ions to pass through it by certain processes, such as diffusion. The permeability of a membrane is defined as the ease with which molecules or ions pass through it. The rate of molecules that pass through the cell membrane depends on the pressure, concentration, and temperature of the molecules on either side of the membrane. Smaller, electrically neutral molecules pass through the membrane with more ease than large, electrically charged molecules. Now that we have learned what the term permeability means, can you describe the difference between fully permeable and semi-permeable? Please write your answers on a piece of paper.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. Fully permeable is the capacity to allow all material to pass through, and semi-permeable is the capacity to allow only certain material to pass through. If you wrote down the same answer, then you are correct. Great job. Students, what is the permeability of the cell membrane? What are the characteristics of the molecules that are able to pass through the cell membrane?
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Hello again, everyone. How did you do? The cell membrane is semi-permeable. The molecules that pass easily through the cell membrane are small and electrically neutral molecules. Did you write down the same answers? If so, great work. All living organisms need to take in substances and get rid of wastes. The ability for these substances to move in and out of the cells is important for the cells to function efficiently. There are 3 different ways cells move substances: by diffusion, by osmosis, and by active transport. We will be discussing these processes later on in this unit. As we have discussed, the rate of movement by which substances enter or leave the cell is determined by the permeability of the cell membrane. In addition to the regulating the substances that enter and exit the cell, the semi-permeable membrane functions to maintain the cell shape with the help of the cell skeleton, promote cell-to-cell signaling, as well. It helps in immune response. Now, let us move on with the lesson and discuss the concept of concentration. Concentration is a way of measuring how many particles of a substance are in one place. The concentration difference between 2 areas is called the concentration gradient. The greater the difference between the 2 concentrations, the greater the gradient will be. Let us use an example of a balloon to better understand this concept. The air inside a balloon is more concentrated than the air outside the balloon. There is a concentration gradient because of the difference in concentration. When something moves against the concentration gradient, it moves from an area of less concentration to an area of greater concentration. When something moves with the concentration gradient, it moves from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. Let us look at an example of the concentration gradient. As you can see, there is a sugar cube in a glass of water. As the sugar dissolves, it diffuses within the water. Diffusion happens when particles spread out. It is defined as the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration. As you can see, the dissolved sugar particles move to areas of less concentration. The sugar particles are moving down the concentration gradient, meaning they are moving from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration. We have time for one last activity. Students, please define the following terms: semi-permeable membrane, concentration, and concentration gradient.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. I hope that was a simple activity for you. A semi-permeable membrane is defined as a membrane that allows only some molecules to pass through by certain processes. Concentration is defined as a way of measuring how much or how many particles of a substance is in one place. Concentration gradient is defined as the difference in concentration of particles between two areas. Were you able to correctly define all the terms? If so, great work. We have reached the end of our lesson. Today, we learned about the semi-permeable cell membrane. We also discussed the concepts of concentration and concentration gradient. Until next time, thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.